Today I'm going to show you how to make some empanadas. Now these are little Argentinian parcels, and the great thing about this, you can do sweet ones or savouries with exactly the same pastry and using this little pastie crimper from Lakeland. Really useful little device. So the first thing we need is about 250 grams of plain flour, and to that I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of yoghurt, then a splash of olive oil, just enough to kind of loosen it a little bit. Makes the pastry quite pliable and easy to work with, which is the secret to a good empanada dough. And then I've got cold water, just going to pour a little bit in at a time. Using a metal spoon here, just mix it, bring it all together. We want a nice, quite a firm dough here. And then add a touch more water if you need it. It's quite important to make sure it's good cold water as well. Helps the pastry come together a lot quicker. So it's just starting to come together there now, just as it comes away from the bowl. So make sure you get all the little bits of flour off there. And exactly the same as when you're making bread, when the dough comes away from the bowl, that means it's ready to turn out. So I'm just going to dust this with a little bit of flour, enough so that you can work it together with your hands. Now this is not bread, so we don't need to knead it and stretch it. We just need to mix it together a little bit and bring it together so it's kind of like quite a firm dough and easy to work with. So just squeeze it in the middle and that'll divide it into two. Squeeze it again, and then do exactly the same again. So we've got 8 pieces of empanada dough here and a touch more flour. Just sprinkle it on and we're just going to gently use the weight of the rolling pin. Don't press on it really hard. Just use the weight of the rolling pin. Turn it and roll it, turn the dough, then turn it over. We want to make sure it doesn't stick on the worktop and it moves around nice and easily. Use the tools you've got in the kitchen to work for you, don't work against them. So we've got that nice and thin. Now we'll take our little pastie crimper here and then just lay the empanada dough over the top. Don't stretch it too much, just kind of let it naturally lie on there. And then the exciting bit now, you can just choose whatever fillings you like. So I've got some pesto here, I've got ricotta cheese and sunblush tomatoes. Perfect combination. So a little bit of pesto in the bottom there. And then some nice creamy ricotta. Pop that in there as well. And then a tomato. If they're quite big like this, just tear them in half and pop that in there. And then I'm just going to add a tiny dribble of olive oil just to kind of richen it and loosen it. Let the whole thing come together. And then nice and simple now, just take the crimper and crimp it shut. No need for any egg wash or anything like that. Just press it right down. And what you end up with is this perfect little empanada, all crimped nice and tightly shut. And it's going to be full of these amazing flavours of pesto, ricotta and sunblush tomato. So just simply transfer that onto a non-stick baking tray and that's it, and just repeat the process until you've filled them all with whatever you like. So I've made my little savoury empanadas. Now I'm going to make a few little sweet ones. So exactly the same as we did before. Just dust a little bit of flour on the top, pat it down and use the weight of the rolling pin and just roll them out. The only thing that's any different here is the filling. This time we're going to use mascarpone cream, raspberries and a little bit of lime juice just to kind of freshen it all up. It's going to taste absolutely amazing. And there we have our first little raspberry and mascarpone empanada. We'll lift that out, pop these at the other end, and what we'll do is we'll glaze these different to the savoury ones so we don't get them confused. There's my last empanada. There we go. Now for the savoury ones, I'm just going to brush them with a touch of olive oil so I can tell the difference. And the sweet ones, we'll put a little tiny sprinkle of sugar on and they'll just caramelise nicely, but they'll look completely different. Just a tiny little bit of olive oil on there, just to let them go nice and golden brown. You don't want them to be soggy, so brush those. And then we're going to sprinkle a touch of sugar onto the sweet ones. Just sort of sit it on the top so that it melts and caramelises on top. I'm going to cook these in the oven, 180 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes until they're golden.